Hello, my name is CJ Wren, and today I will be showing you some drum and rhythm section tips to speed up your Dorico workflow. Please leave a like, subscribe, and click that bell to turn on notifications. Let's get started with the video. The first tip we will cover is drum selection on a drum kit staff. I'm not purely talking about switching between kick and snare, but I'm also talking about how we can select between different snare types, such as an open snare versus a cross stick snare. To get started navigating your drum staff, first thing you have to do is enter note input mode on your drum kit staff. You can do that by double clicking, pressing enter, or my usual shift N. Within this, you'll notice we don't have our usual note input caret or locator. Instead, we have this mini one which highlights individual notes on our drum kit staff. This is because this correlates to our individual instruments. So simply, if we use the arrow keys up and down, we can scroll between our different drums on the staff, like this. Now, while most of us are probably familiar with the fact we can use the arrow keys to navigate between our different drums on the staff, we also have a key command to switch between different playing techniques of a specific drum. This has multiple uses, but the most relevant for drum kits is the snare drum and our various note heads and sounds we want to make with that drum. Watch as I use the combination of Alt or Option with the up or down arrows to scroll between our different playing techniques available for the snare drum. Now that we're able to navigate between all our different drums and our different playing techniques within those drums, that brings me to tip number 2, which is the generic key for note input. If you press Y, it'll input whatever note you have highlighted on the screen. Essentially, think as Y as a pitchless note, and it's just used for rhythmic parts, and for drums that has tons of applications because we have this mini caret that lets us navigate between our individual drums on the staff. But if you were doing something like a rhythm slash on a piano part like you see above on the screen, you can also click Y for those notes since they technically don't have a pitch. Now, of course, when you are working with a drum kit, you do not always have to navigate between your drums with the arrow keys. You can also simply click the pitch on your keyboard or MIDI keyboard that correlates to the drum's position on a treble clef staff. For example, if I press F, notice a kick drum was put in the position of a treble clef F. Same thing applies if I were to click D, which will now insert a pedal hi-hat. Now, watch if I click A what happens. What occurred is it input the closest A to where my input caret was actually located. If I wanted to insert a crash on the A above a treble clef staff, I would have to move my cursor up a bit and then click A, and now it knows I'm looking to insert the A within that octave. Now, of course, in that circumstance, I was showing you how I was operating the drum kit staff with a typing keyboard. If you were to use a MIDI keyboard, the concept of octaves becomes irrelevant because you can just pick the octave based on which A you actually play on the keyboard. At this point in the video, you may have noticed I've been avoiding the hi-hat in general other than the pedal hi-hat, and that's because the concept of a close and open hi-hat isn't handled by the note head, but by a playing technique. To recap, we have multiple ways to insert different drums. Watch as I use the arrow keys to find my hi-hat. And once I do that, I can either press Y for the generic note, or I can press G for the hi-hat note. The only change from the snare drum is that to change it to an open hi-hat, we do it retrospectively instead of picking before. All you have to do is click Shift Alt and the arrow up to change it to an open hi-hat. Using the combination of the Shift, Alt, and up arrow also works on your snare drum after the fact. For example, if I press C on my MIDI keyboard, I will insert a snare drum. Now, if I click Shift, Alt, and up, I can scroll between those playing techniques retrospectively. Now, the next tip I will be showing you is how to insert bar repeats using the popover. Yes, you can use the mouse, but there's even a quicker, more efficient way to achieve this. With any bar selected, make your range selection for however many bars you want to display this bar repeat region over. In this case, I'll just do these 2 bars. Click Shift R, and now think about the symbol of a bar repeat. It looks like a percent, so we will type a percent sign, and then we can either type 1, 2, or 4 for different types of bar repeat regions. 1 means it means repeat one bar, and if it recurs, we're repeating that bar over and over again. 2 means we're repeating the group of 2 bars before, and 4, of course, would be the previous 4 bars. I will insert the bar repeat of 2 bars just for demonstration with a percent sign in the 2 in that popover. Watch as I click enter, and it automatically creates that bar repeat region. Watch as I repeat that using a larger region, and you will see it continue to draw that bar repeat over all my selected bars. Once again, Shift R, repeat, and whatever kind of bar repeat length you want, I will do 2 again and click enter. The next tip I will show you is displaying cues in your score. You may have noticed if you're working with a drum part in a big band score and you make a selection of a certain range and you do the popover of Shift U for the cue and you start typing something like trumpet 1, select it, insert your cue, you only see a signpost. By default, cues are not going to be displaying in your score, but they are showing up in your part. If you want to display them in your score, it's very simple. We just have to enable them in layout options. Get to layout options with Control or Command Shift L. Within here, just search for cues. It's the first thing that pops up, and just check Show Cues. Make sure your full score is selected in the layout, so when you click Apply, it actually applies it to the score. Now we have cues that display in our score as well as our parts. The next tip I'll be showing off is working with numbered bar regions and why I personally like to use them instead of the numbers that appear under slash regions. So sometimes I find myself in the circumstance where I have a very broken up slash region, such as you see here with my piano and guitar. I've been getting in the habit of displaying a bar count underneath of my staff that will say 4 under bar 4 in bar 8 of that phrase. I found that players generally like it because it really helps them keep track, especially when they have tons of rhythmic stuff on the page. So what I've been doing is not using the number on the slash region, but instead using the number on a numbered bar region. First, to insert a numbered bar region, just make a selection of a range, and I will be doing this on my guitar track. Click Shift R for the repeat structures popover, and type num for numbered bar region. Once you click enter, that's not the formatting I'm looking for, so now I'll jump into engrave options to set how they're going to look for the entire score in all my parts, while only having to set it once in the engraving options. Click Command or Control Shift E. Within this, type numbered, and you will find the option for numbered bar regions. And now configure it however you like. If you'd like to know how I display them, I set it to every 4 bars. I show it with parentheses below the staff. I show nothing in the first bar. I don't show in the last bar in a system. I do show the appearance in the last bar of the region. And once I click apply and close, and I jump to galley view because I don't have my formatting set up very well in the score right now, you will see under this region where we inserted the numbered bar region, it's only showing under bar 4 and 8. It will do this for any part I insert this on, and it also will reflect that in the parts. The other way to have achieved that, if I were relying on my slash regions, would have been to select a specific slash region and edit the properties to show the count from a specific place and change it so it's showing just certain numbers, and I can change my count, frequency, and all the display options similar to my numbered bar regions. But if I have very rhythmically active parts, or if I don't have any slash regions at all, it's sometimes just more convenient to have a predefined numbered bar region that you can just throw in anything. The final tip I will be covering today is how to suppress on playback. This is useful if you have a repeat and you only want something to play the second time, or you can even get more specific if it was a repeated section that lasts longer than 2 times and have things only occur on the second and fourth times, such as solo backgrounds. To achieve this, select the thing you want to suppress, and within the properties in the bottom toolbar, come to the common settings and click suppress playback, and we're going to select on passes. Check the next box to actually select which passes you want to suppress it on, and we can just type a list here separated by commas. For example, if we didn't want this to play on pass 1 and 3, if it was repeated 4 times, we would put 1, 3. Since this only happens 2 times and I want the drums to come in the second time, I will just make it 1, which means it won't play the first time, but it will play the second time. If I deselect everything, you will notice the suppress section is now grayed out, but I purposely left out these repeat regions from that suppression because they are correlated to the suppressed material. If I suppress that swing in bar 1, it won't play it for the first pass because they're already muted, but the bar repeats will play it the second time because it will be unmuted the second time. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed some of these drum and rhythm section tips. I want to give a quick note about Dorico's speed versus my videos. I take things very slow for demonstration purposes, so if you want to see what my Dorico workflow looks like in practice, catch one of my live streams where I work on commissions and personal projects. Please leave a like, subscribe, and click that bell to turn on notifications, and thanks for watching.